down.
Well, one day,
there,
if you're ever in the area, you know, there's Sasquatch down here occasionally, apparently.
Yeah, Keenan's in charge of that jurisdiction.
Oh, you have it split up, eh?
Yeah, there's no shortage down here, actually. I think the reports have been pretty evenly split, but...
Really?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh, I didn't redo the title.
Oh, boy. Can you change it, or? Okay, we're almost ready to adjust. And I watched your documentaries, by the way. They're fantastic.
What should I title it? What should I title it?
Alberta, Sasquatch, and Mountain Beast Mysteries?
Sure.
In the house?
Yeah, Alberta, Sasquatch in the house, and Mountain Beast.
Mountain
Beast Mysteries?
Beast. 2 words?
I think so.
Half in the studio, but I'll leave that part out. They'll figure it out. I suppose the question is...
See my shirt, Justin?
Actually changed it on YouTube.
I can't tell what's on it.
Save Sasquatch. We have an ongoing battle here. I'd take a bullet for him, and this Yahoo would shoot him.
So he's going to shoot you, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. If that's what it takes. I don't want to shoot Graham, but I will. Don't want it.
That has been recorded.
Yeah. Several times. 2 keywords.
Yeah, those are good. I saw the documentaries. I think 3 of them there. They're really, really good.
Thank you. I call them glorified YouTube videos.
Well, they were well done. I mean, and it just, it was just interesting the way you did it. I liked it, and in the a little bit in the wilderness there, and that. I think probably one of my favorite parts. We'll talk about it on the show, but it was that taxidermist that you had on. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He actually, somebody else made a documentary about him that's coming out or has just been released.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
At some point, I'll back out and I'll be replaced by someone less good looking. Because I have to get my children home.
What time are you leaving at?
Probably 8:15, 8:30. 8:30 probably. And Mike will come in.
Oh, okay. How much time do you got? Do you guys want to go for? Usually we go an hour and a half kind of thing. Is that cool or?
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's cool.
Okay. Seems to be the sweet spot, but I mean we can go longer. We can go shorter.
All right, I'm ready. We're live. We're live.
We're live.
I'll hit record.
Okay, let's do it. All right, so today we've got a special episode. We have somebody in the studio with us. We have Keenan from Alberta Sasquatch here, and Justin on Zoom from Mountain Beast Mysteries. Thanks for joining us, guys.
But also local.
Also local Alberta-wise. Yeah, let's mention that. Yeah, you're up north, right? A little bit?
Yeah, I'm up in Edmonton right now.
Yeah, so...
We could have squeezed one more person in here. It's too bad. Actually, you look like...
It's so hot right now, we're already sweating and we're just getting started, so...
I know, it's like 30 degrees in the room I'm in right now, so I'm going to be like doing this swipe and everything the whole time.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us. It's special to have people in the studio. I'm always looking forward to that. And it's special to talk about Sasquatch in Alberta too. I mean, we've done a couple shows on the guy, and it's kind of a running theme here.
Fella.
But I didn't realize until recently, really, that there's a bit of a prevalence in Alberta too. Like not just. I mean, I grew up in near Harrison Hot Springs, so I always remember Harrison as the Sasquatch thing, and in BC, but. Now that I've been in Alberta for a few years, I didn't really realize. I mean, I've heard of him down in Waterton a little bit, and down south of Calgary a bit. But looking at the Alberta Sasquatch website and the map and stuff, he's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, so Sasquatch sightings here in Alberta, they go back to the beginning of the 1800s.
Oh wow!
And You know, it's actually something it's not just like this historical thing, a phenomenon. It's something that's happening here in current day or modern day, and we get reports from people on a near monthly basis, and we have a chance to talk to these witnesses and listen to their experiences, and in some opportunities go out and talk to them in person and see the places where they've had these experiences.
Cool. That's awesome. How long have you guys known each other for?
I don't know, when did I kind of join up, Keenan? A couple years ago?
Yeah, I think it would have been around last summer. So me and Rob, we teamed up to reform the Alberta Sasquatch organization and the website and the web presence so that we could bring in more contemporary encounters from people.
Right.
We linked up with Justin last summer, I believe, after we'd seen some of his documentaries coming out on YouTube, and we thought it would be a good fit. And since then, we've kind of kept the ball rolling, and we've met a few other good people that have made some additions too.
Nice. So you had your own thing going with Mountain Beast Mysteries before you kind of hooked up with the Alberta Sasquatch guys?
Yeah, back in 2014, I started, I had decided I was going to make a documentary. Didn't really know what I wanted to make a documentary on. And my dad actually was telling me about this strange happening that he went through on Vancouver Island. And I'm like, oh, the Bigfoot thing, that seems interesting. So I thought it'd be worth kind of exploring that. Ended up making a documentary, which is on YouTube, Wild Man, My Search for Sasquatch. And then after that, I decided just to throw it on YouTube, and that's kind of how the channel was born.
Oh.
Kind of expanded quite a bit since then. That's how I got into it.
That's interesting. So would your dad talk about these stories when you were young? Like, were you always was it always there in the background, or did you just get interested when you're older?
Yeah, well, my dad was always interested in it, and he would always rent like VHS documentaries when I was a kid. And so it was always something that I was kind of interested in, but not as much until he had his experience on Vancouver Island, where he was fishing on a lake in a rubber dinghy with another friend, and something was throwing large rocks into the lake from the trees shore. So he had he had an experience, I guess, that made him have to change his shorts.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, yeah, that's kind of what really, got me to start looking into it.
And then after that first one, and you threw it on YouTube, and then did that pique your interest to the point where you wanted to keep sort of researching and keep studying it?
Yeah, and I didn't really, I guess, realize until I put it on YouTube how interested people actually were in the subject.
Yeah.
I didn't really intend to stick with it. I kind of just wanted to make one documentary and then kind of move on to other things.
Right.
Other topics of interest, even stuff like paranormal topics and UFOs and things of that nature. I kind of wanted to branch out, but I've kind of just focused in on the Bigfoot thing. It's just the way it happened. So
yeah.
You a shoot or no shoot guy?
I'm a no shoot, but fine if there's an accident.
Okay. So you're not like diving in front, like bleeding heart.
I'm not gonna get in your way.
No. Okay. What about you, Kian?
I don't think I could shoot one either, but there's this part of me though that even though I would never want one to be shot, there's that.
Did you just wink at me?
Curiosity? No. There's that curiosity though, where if something like that ever happened with another person out there, I'd still pay the money to go see it, But I don't think I could pull the trigger, and I don't think I would be out there with people that were.
Oh yeah, hunting?
Where that was what their main purpose out there to do.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think most of the people that are wanting to shoot Bigfoot are going looking for him. I picture it more like those are the people that are in the woods most of the time. Like 50% of the people in the woods are probably hunters, especially in certain seasons. Sasquatch comes out, boom, Bigfoot, proof.
No, see, it's not as simple as that. See, I always come back to this with Darren. He doesn't really...
Well, this will find out because Graham says Bigfoot can't be killed. So what do you guys think about that?
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Does it bleed?
If it bleeds,
I don't know. I'm just referencing Predator.
Yeah, exactly.
But could you imagine being the guy, you're out there in the woods and you take one out just being able to like analyze it up close for yourself finally and just take it all in, like that experience would be crazy, I'll admit.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to deal with, if you did shoot one, what other ones are out there that just saw that, if they
Yeah. Well, you hear these
You gotta get
stories
to-
might
about.
not make it out.
You might not make it out, and then plus the social media people are just gonna rip you apart.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like Nazi kid killer times 10. That's it. Fuck it, selfie.
I think I hear those stories about when the hunters see they look at him in the eye and they can't even pull the trigger because they realize it's like it's a man, it's not just a beast, it's more of a man. So then I hear the other stories. I mean, and I mean we don't talk about that much, but I've heard stories from years ago where people have shot it and hasn't even done anything to it. So that's one of the reasons why I say to Darren that it's not as simple as just shooting a bear. Like, you might not be able to hit it, or it might not do anything if you do hit it. So why bother? Why not just try and,
Why bother? Let's just assume it can't be killed.
Yeah, well, actually, if you guys check out on the website, our last report that we published was number 60, and that was called Witness Has Terrifying Encounter Near Slave Lake. And with that encounter, it was actually a hunter who was out armed who encountered one at about 25 yards away. And this is only from last month. And same thing, too, in that moment of shock and awe and disbelief, the idea of lifting that rifle to your face and taking that shot, it never occurred to him.
wow.
Yeah. And that was our most recent one. That
So
was
he
the most
didn't
recent
shoot?
visual sighting. Yeah.
Wow.
No, he didn't.
Wow.
I don't even think it even passed through his mind.
That's interesting.
Well, maybe Bigfoot's mind controlling you.
Well, that's the thing. There's that electromagnetic thing I wanted to ask you guys about where it generates that fear. I mean, a couple of your guests that you had on your documentary, I can't remember which one it was. I watched all three of them like almost one after another, so they kind of get mixed up. There was the taxidermist guy, and then there was a couple other people you were talking to about I think it was your friend that you called, and he was talking about the interesting thing about Sasquatch's fur changing to green, which might create the camouflage thing, like the predator thing you were talking about, and then the electromagnetic fear thing, because you hear about this intense fear. Like, I was camping once in La Conner as a 16-year-old with a couple guys on this island in Washington State, so it's in that area, right? And we were in a tent, and we heard something walking around, and I was so scared. I've never been that scared in my life. That we couldn't even breathe, and we were trying to communicate the tents next to each other, and we couldn't even talk or breathe. Like, we were just like, who's outside? Who's outside? And like, why would we be that? I mean, I know it was 16 in the dark, middle of this island, but I recognize that as like this abnormal or unreasonable fear, and that's what you kind of hear all the time, right?
Well, I've talked to a few people who have either like been hit by this thing, like they suspect it's infrasound is what they call it.
Oh,
But some people that get hit with it actually makes them like ill, like they get physically ill, or they actually fall right onto the ground basically. And that's a pretty big difference between like feeling an intense fear. It's more like it has a physical effect on you, not just a mental effect. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So like I've definitely been incredibly scared out in the bush and have felt like the fear, kind of like what you described, but I don't really think it's that infrasound thing that they might be projecting. I don't know. What do you think, Keenan? What are your thoughts?
So I haven't talked to as many people as Justin has about this too, but the people that I have talked to are mostly outside of Alberta, and it's exactly what Justin's describing. It's not a type of fear that's just at a new level. It's an actual. It was if somebody were to poison you, and it creates a physiological effect, and you end up puking. Your vision and your language becomes slurred. You're talking, but people don't understand what you're saying. You can't understand what they're saying. So people have bent over with like cramps and aches and pains and stuff like that. And the weirdest part about it is that some of the people that we've talked to, they talk about it being surgical, where there was a group of 3 or 4 people, but only they had that experience.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you're just scared like a bitch. You know what it is? It's that primal fear of being in the bush and hearing shit. I mean, people have been getting eaten by wolves for the last couple of thousand years. Mm-hmm. It's only like the last couple of 100 years that we've got to the point where wolves aren't a problem. And I mean, look at Russia. Wolves are a problem again. They just have those packs of like 300 wolves, super packs of wolves wandering into towns and fucking dragging
Really?
people off. Yeah. Well,
Oh,
mostly cattle.
nowadays up north, like in northern Canada, like you have big polar bear issues. You can't walk around town in the Arctic without a rifle.
Yeah, that's
So
like
it's
that
like there's still,
that facility up by Churchill. They just ended up fully fencing the fucking thing in. They're just like
yeah.
fence it off. People just getting picked off. I mean, that's why we're not that far removed. Like maybe what, a dozen generations or so, maybe 20 from like running from beasts, Sasquatch or not.
I think it's going the opposite way. I mean, we're I think we're taking over this place, but I don't think Sasquatch is bad. I mean, I think he's just misunderstood, if it's evil at all. I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that part of it.
Well, we've had some pretty terrifying encounters reported to us, and actually, even going back to the part about the infrasound, I've talked to 3 people in the last year who've all reported being knocked unconscious by them, and
Really?
being knocked unconscious by a force that they couldn't see and associated with them coming into their campsites.
Wow.
2 of them from the same campground within one camping spot of each other on separate years.
Will you tell us which one off air so we can camp there?
Absolutely, you can go there. Both of them, both of the reports from that campsite actually come from the end of July, so it's pretty much prime season to go get knocked out by a Sasquatch.
I'm going camping this weekend.
Can you switch your spot?
No, we were gonna be in a campground. Now we're in somebody else's yard. But
What, are you camping in someone's yard? That's how the Sea City people just camp in the backyard.
we're going to a CE5 camp thing this weekend.
Okay.
I go out and do the CE5, like looking for UFOs all the time, and we see shit, quite a bit of shit.
Yeah.
Last couple of years has been really good. But we're going camping to
Seen
Medicine.
a few satellites.
Yeah, well, jeez. We're going to Medicine Hat this time. But one of the guys I'm with is he's seen Sasquatch. I think
Jason?
at least once. Yeah, Jason. So.
Is that spot where you sent the picture, the murky spot? Is that the
That's one
Sasquatch
of the
sighting spot?
Yeah, that's one of the spots.
That's where he's going to take me?
Is he going to take you?
Yeah, he said he's going to take me hunting for Sasquatch.
That's probably the spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where were these campgrounds that people were getting knocked out by the guy?
It's about a 4.5 hour drive from here, northwest. It's closer to Justin there,
Oh,
just
okay.
west of him.
Okay.
Out by Jasper.
Yeah, just south of there, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Nordegg area, kind of
Yeah.
south of Jasper, south of Hinton.
Do you think that? So is that fella white in the winter? Is he like a
No.
bunny where he switches color?
No, like that whole idea. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's how would I know? Right? Like it's the same thing with bears. Black bears.
Well,
brown.
if you've seen him in the snow, you might know that he's not white.
I
Nope.
mean, we're really speculating here.
Yeah. Well, the witnesses that I've talked to that have had these winter sightings, though, they still see black and brown.
Oh, really?
ones.
Eh?
Actually, here in Alberta, the prime season for being able to see them actually in general is in the early spring and the late fall. So, for example, usually October, November. Like these shoulder seasons where there's not a lot of tourists, and then also again in March and April, and then maybe they bleed a little bit into May, but summer sightings are actually the rarity, and it's usually like these shoulder seasons or in the winter. And in particular, the places that seem to pop up are actually places that humans frequent quite a bit in the summer and then are closed off to people usually around November 1st or Halloween, sometime around there. They start closing things like Highway 40, right?
Yeah.
And Kananaskis, and that's actually a lot of those sightings are from people that had special access to be in there. For example, we talked to a biologist that had special access to the research center there. There's a University of Calgary research center over by Mount Baldy, and that's where he had his encounters. He had access to that facility in March. And but what I should point out though is that, to your question, is that mostly brown and black still.
Yeah.
I think I'm allowed in there to go hunt. I think I'm allowed to hunt in there.
Oh. You get in there, but the road is physically blocked. So I think in the winter months, that Highway 40 there, I think there's a gate right over it. I think. So.
Yeah, there is. They drop up a winter gate too, but they have crews going in and out of there because they still do maintenance and stuff.
Could
like
you get
that.
a
And they have
trucker in
logging.
there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not maintained. So after pretty good snowfall, you're not going to
You're
get in there. Like they have the Nikiska ski resort in there too for a reason. Is they got pretty big dumps there, and trucks don't really go in there. But they do have to do a bunch of stuff, and they've been doing a lot of logging in there right now, and so there's been quite a bit more traffic than usual.
It's too bad because it's like when it snows early in the fall, all the bunnies turn white and then it melts. I was gonna say maybe that's a good time to hunt for Bigfoot. If it was like the Yeti. We have a Bigfoot right here. I guess that's a Yeti.
Yeah, I don't think we have any reports here in Alberta of people seeing white or gray Sasquatch.
It's pretty rare.
Yeah,
Even in like Eastern Europe and Russia, Siberia, most of the reports have been for a long time, like darker colored hair.
Oh, really? So even
I don't know where the myth of the white Yeti came from.
So it may have always been brown.
yeah. Out there too, the Yeti has always been, and the mink and all those things. They've always been brown and black. It's a pop culture thing. I think a lot of people attribute that to the Rudolph the Red-Nosed
I was
Reindeer,
gonna say that, yeah.
like that,
Yeah,
that
that guy.
children claymation.
Really?
Yeah.
I was gonna
Well,
say.
you'd think if you're basically a high-level predator, you don't need to camouflage so much. You're going to want to be brown so you can soak up those sunlight.
Yeah, and we're talking about hair too. We're not talking about fur. So, like, I don't know of any, animal
so it
with
gets
hair
white when it
instead
gets
of versus
old.
fur, right? Like, we don't, as humans, we don't do that. Yeah, so usually when people are talking about like the gray or the snow white or even platinum blonde kind of Sasquatch, what they're talking about is like the matriarch of a family. And it's one of like the old timers of the elders.
He's getting ready to kick off. He's real old. Got the white beard going on. I can dig it. I like it. So it's all hair. All of it?
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Not
like it's
fur?
some
So
people.
is that
Some
what
people.
is that what apes are?
Some people reported as fur.
Do apes have fur?
You call
Or
it
do
fur.
apes have
apes?
hair?
They're more.
They
It's
have
more of
hair.
hair.
Hair like. I wonder if they start balding when they get old too.
Oh, probably.
Goes from silver, then it just starts like seeding down his
Yeah,
back.
Well, that's where the reports go into too. Is like when people see ones that look a bit like they've seen a few sunrises and a few sunsets. They start to report more cuts and abrasions, things like that, contusions on the body. But then they start to report patches of wear, like on the knees, shoulders, elbows, places that you would crawl on, get down on when you're picking and stuff like that too. And then you start to get the splotchiness on the chest and things like that
wow.
too. Yeah. So some people have got a really good look at them.
Huh.
In
That's awesome.
Alberta.
Yeah, even here in Alberta, we talk to several eyewitnesses per year. We've only been doing this for a little while, but one of the things that gives me a lot of optimism is that when some of the older researchers like Thomas Steenberg were here in Alberta, they had to place ads in like the Calgary Herald and the Calgary Sun and put their personal phone number on the ad, and people would crank call them and stuff like that. But having a pretty respectable presence on the internet with Mountain Beast Mysteries and the Alberta Sasquatch website is that we get a really good caliber of witness. We don't get a lot of crank calls or reports, and we get people who from different generations who've had sightings from like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Just one day they go into Google and type in Alberta Sasquatch sightings, and like the volume and quality of reports that we're getting are way better than what these guys were getting back in the 90s or the early 2000s, because the technology exists to connect with people.
Well, also, I think people are taking it more seriously. There's less ridicule. Just like the UFO thing. I mean, we've been talking about UFOs for 7 years on the show now, 6 years on the show now. And I've been interested in that and it's really shifted. It's like the some of the mainstream news takes it more seriously. People aren't ridiculing it as much anymore. People are having these conversations where they can open up and they can tell. I mean, that's part of why the show is successful, because people started emailing us stories of their sightings and their experiences that are unexplainable, and we'd read them on the air, and it just, people are feeling, I think, more comfortable in talking about stuff like that.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things I wanted to do with the Mountain Beast Mysteries channel, is kind of make the Bigfoot topic, I don't know, for a lack of a better term, cool, I guess, and more, I guess, less taboo, and it would make people, feel like they could be more comfortable coming forward with stories.
Yeah.
And it's not something that they'd be like ashamed of looking into, or
Yeah.
coming out and saying, hey, I saw this weird thing. I don't really know who to talk to, but it's I don't know. It's always been a popular subject, so I don't want to say I wanted to make it more popular, but I just wanted to make it, I guess, a little bit more mainstream,
Yeah.
by using some flashy videos and
Pop
I don't
culture.
know.
Yeah, I think Justin's done
Yeah.
a really good job too of making it really accessible for people too. Not everyone has access to Netflix or Amazon Prime or video on demand or whatever it is to get all of like these super high production value TV shows or documentaries or whatever the case is. But a lot of people have access to the internet. You can go to YouTube, you can type in Mountain Beast Mysteries, and you could watch something with a high production value with a person or persons putting in a good amount of effort, not into just the editing and the videography, but also into going out to these remote places, putting in the work, putting in the hours,
Yeah.
and see what their experience has been, what works for them, what doesn't, and if anything else, just to create that conversation about like,
Yeah.
hey, is this ridiculous, or can we just sit down like adults and talk
Yeah.
about this? And that's kind of where we went with the Alberta Sasquatch stuff too, is we wanted to make it more accessible to people and be able to have a legitimate discussion without people trying to shove ideas down your throat. So every year we've done things like run public camping trips, and we've gone on public. We've had a couple, or actually we just had our first, well, somewhat smaller public kind of expedition or excursion where we ended up going out for about 4 or 5 days and took a group of people out with us to Sasquatch hotspot and kind of poked around for a little bit and tried a few things, stayed up late and tried to
Knock
see
some
what
wood,
happens.
knock some wood, and
Yeah, knock some wood.
whoop some calls, or
Well, I think we eventually kind of broke out into the calls a little bit later on when you get a little tired of nothing happening the first little while, right? But yeah, definitely bring out some baseball bats and knock some wood and see what happens. And you know what, if that's something that ends up not working for us too, then we're open to some suggestions. And that's why we had a lot of other people come out, because if you have just the Sasquatch people come out, they come out with their ideas. But if you have you invite the public to come out with you. You don't charge them anything, and you invite them. They come with a whole new group of ideas. Like, hey, can we try this? Can we go check out over here? Can we do these things? Yeah. So I think we've done a pretty good job with that too.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I loved about your documentaries is that I could sense that you're not dogmatic about any ideas. You're talking about different theories that might be quite out there, but maybe who knows, right? I mean, you're very open-minded to all the different kind of things. It really felt like this was an exploration of your own mind and your own search into this whole mystery without coming at it from an angle or. Yeah, I really sense that. Maybe that's why it did so well. I mean, you got lots of people watching that, and
Yeah, I don't like to reject theories or
Yeah.
like I like to be open to pretty much anything, and I'm perfectly fine saying I don't have all the answers, or any answers. It's still a huge mystery, and like I could sit here and answer all your questions still with I don't know.
yeah, exactly. Or there's more.
That's
I
the
mean,
thing.
more questions. The more we do this, the more I just have more questions. I got less answers and way more questions.
I never had a lot of answers. So neither of you actually had a Bigfoot sighting of your own, though?
Not like I've had weird things happen and I've seen weird things, but I've never had a visual sighting where I actually seen the thing. I mean, the closest thing was this winter, Keenan, the individual who came to us who claimed to have had multiple of these creatures on his property.
Oh, that was great. That was in your show, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on, especially the first night I was there, and I was freaked out. Like after I left his property, and I was really nervous going into it too. I thought that was going to be the time I was going to see it. That's what was going through my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely had more questions than answers after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in my case too, like I found that experience pretty interesting too. But for me, my interest in Sasquatch goes back to a personal experience that I had in June 2017. So my experience that kind of got me into this wasn't a visual sighting either per se, but what I essentially had happen to me was I was out fly fishing with a friend. And we were out on a Thursday night. It was the day before opening season for fly fishing province-wide here in Alberta. and I was sleeping in a one-man shelter, and he was sleeping in a separate tent off to the side, and we went to sleep for the night, and around 3:30 in the morning, I had something with a hand like the size of like a frying pan reach through my tent and grab my head with fingers. And then so I woke up and I shot up, but like it's just like a one-man shelter, so you can't sit all the way up. And what happened there was like when something like that happens to you, you don't really you're in like that, I don't know if they call it like a hypnagogic state. Yeah. And so I didn't really know what happened. I was kind of shocked, but I was up on my elbows, and I was thinking like, oh, maybe I got a bear or something like that coming through. And then after a little while, and I kind of like roused myself, and I was starting to get pretty alert and pretty anxious. The hand came back through the tent again and grabbed the top of my head with fingers. Yeah, and it held my head in a grip, and so I sat there for a while, maybe just a few seconds, or maybe up to 10 seconds, and then I jerked my head forward and I pulled it out of the grip, and then the hand shot back out of the tent. And the reason why I don't think it was my friend is, well, for one, we were out in the middle of nowhere, and he has sleep apnea, and he doesn't have a CPAP machine out there in the woods or whatever, right? So I can hear him snoring as this is going on, right? And whatever grabbed me didn't move off. It was still, I didn't hear anything. It was just stillness. So as far as I'm aware, whatever this thing is that grabbed me is still
behind you,
still standing up above my tent. And I always had the expectation that if this was a bear, it would be sniffing around, it'd be poking and prodding, it might be grunting or wheezing or making animal noises, but it was completely silent. And I sat there in like a semi-reclined position until the sun came up, and until my friend got out of his tent, and I got out of mine, and I never said anything to him about that experience, and he never, he's never like I gotcha, no gotcha moment or anything like that. And just the kind of, I mean, that still kind of feels a bit ambiguous, and I wasn't prepared right away to say, okay, I think this is definitely a Sasquatch thing, and it wasn't something that I was really that into at the time. I looked around the camp, and we'd messed up, and we'd left some food out. None of the food was touched, and it was all, waist high, chest high, accessible on tables, coolers, and stuff like that. But the bulk of our food too, I'd taken it and I'd put it behind. I'd put it in the box of my truck, and then I'd put the tailgate back up and close the bed cover. And I had trail dust 360 degrees around my vehicle from driving into this remote location. And whatever it was that came in, I always expected that, if they were going to go for the food would have been behind the tailgate. And so there's no fingerprints or animal rubbings on the tailgate. I didn't see any of the trail dust knocked off the vehicle. So that was pretty terrifying. And none of the food that we messed up and we did leave out negligently, none of that was touched. And then, I thought, well, okay, maybe it was like a prowler or something like that, maybe a thief. But we left 3, $600 or $700 fly rods on the picnic table there, and those weren't taken. None of our valuables, like, nice knives and other camping gear, none of that stuff was taken. And I don't know who'd be out there without a headlamp at 3:30 in the morning. And if you're going to steal from someone, why would you grab them through a tent? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it happened twice. It wasn't just like a lucid dream or something like that. I mean, it was.
Yeah, the first one, that wakes you up and you jolt up, and it could be anything. And your first instinct, rightly so, should be a bear or probably just a bear for this area. And but then the second one comes through, and it grabs you with that tactile fingers.
Yeah, it's not a claw.
Yeah, and whatever grabbed me too, it didn't rip the material on the tent. So it didn't really have claws, as far as I'm aware, because it didn't puncture through the rain fly or the mesh of the tent. So that gave me something to think about for a really long time, and I didn't go back into the woods for the rest of 2017.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you go back in 2018?
Yeah, actually, I think one of the first times I actually went back to the woods wasn't even for fly fishing; it was for something Sasquatch related, actually.
What was it about the food in the back of the truck?
Okay, so we had most of our food in the box of the truck.
Yeah.
And we put the tailgate up. So we thought we did that as like you're supposed to secure your food in bear country before you go to sleep. So we did that with most of the stuff. And when we drove in though, the vehicles got covered in dust.
Yeah.
So I was expecting that if a bear was trying to get the
Right.
food,
Okay.
it
Yeah.
would have
You would have
rubbed.
seen the.
It would have rubbed up, against the trail
because
dust.
it would have smelt it through the thing.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what you meant. Yeah.
But nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's really interesting. And where
That's
was
an
that? Where
incredible
was that
encounter.
again?
that's just maybe
in
30.
Alberta, right?
Yeah, it's in Alberta,
Yeah.
about 35 kilometers north of Coleman in the Crow's Nest Pass. Yeah, and then when I got involved with the Alberta Sasquatch stuff, and this is kind of what pulled me in, is I learned that there were 2 other people that had had visual encounters within 8 kilometers as the crow flies from where I had that experience.
Nice.
That's down in the pass.
Yeah,
I love it down there.
yeah, it is.
Darren wanted to move down there.
I might yet. I might end up in the pass. Well, I don't want to get squatched. I mean, me and Bigfoot fucking probably don't see eye to eye. If he's heard the show, he's probably not too cool with that.
So those guys that had the more of the violent encounter with the getting knocked out, I think, like
Getting knocked out by an unseen
Yeah,
force.
yeah,
They're not like getting
yeah.
knocked out with like physical violence.
Yeah.
And the other weird thing about it is that surgical part that I was talking about too, where it only happens to the men.
oh.
So all of these experiences have usually occurred where there were men and women present, and this would only happen to the men.
Wow.
Do the women have missing time?
Have you? Do they happen to be on their moon cycle?
Oh, no.
Does that attract them? I heard stories about that.
Usually when we're interviewing people, we don't ask them about their moon cycle. So
You should
You
add
know,
that.
I might want to add that to the questionnaire.
we'll have to add that to the standard questions.
I've
But,
heard that a couple of times. Yeah, that Sasquatch he knows what's up.
Yeah. So, we've talked to a few people where that's what seemed to happen was like the man of the group is knocked unconscious. Sometimes I think each of those cases there was only one man, but in 2 of the cases there were multiple females. Nothing with the women, just the men, and they can't be roused from whatever happens in the sleep. So in one case, the guy was fully conscious and awake, and was knocked unconscious from an alert, wakeful state where he was where he noticed the activity as well, and then was out. And then in another case, where the men had gone to sleep normally and then couldn't be roused by screaming, slapping, people getting on top of them, elbowing them, kicking them, pulling on their sheets, nothing would wake them up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you were going to talk about another.
I would just assume so he was dead.
That's what they were thinking. That's what they were afraid of too.
We giving him CPR.
So do you guys think that there's are they malevolent or are they benevolent? I mean, like, I still feel like they had these like scary moments and stuff, but there's also the stories of them being nice to people, I think, right?
I like to think of it the same way I think of people, right? There's really
Yeah.
good people out there, and there's also really shitty people out there.
Some of those Sasquatch have PTSD, and they're just,
Well, some of them are giving people PTSD with these encounters.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just like people. I mean, the majority of people are good, but there's always, you have encounters in your day-to-day life with people that are pretty unpleasant too.
Yeah.
That's
I
probably
like to
an
look at them like-
experiential thing, though. You'd think Sasquatch is having mostly good. He's pretty. Maybe not. Maybe Sasquatch living in the hood. He's the same thing. Single parent, fucking Sasquatch homes. Could be.
Okay.
That's where you get your troublesome Bigfoot. Fucking boom.
Any other good encounters that you've heard about recently, Justin?
That I've heard about?
Yeah, in Alberta.
Well, that Slave Lake one that Keenan was talking about is probably the most recent.
Do you mean good, like
I mean,
benevolent?
No. I meant like just
Because now that I think of it, I don't think I've ever heard of a benevolent Bigfoot encounter. They've all sort
there's
of been
lots where the guys get
indifferent.
No, the guys they're in with the family for a while and then they come back out a week later.
That's that's the higher end stuff.
Well, I can give you
Did
one.
you guys?
I can give him one benevolent Bigfoot story, and it came from a guy in Golden, BC. And so this is a story from his grandmother. She had a story where I think she was living in closer to the Lower Mainland in British Columbia, and this was way back when, and things aren't as developed as they are now. So this was a more remote part of the Lower Mainland, and what happened to her was she was walking home late at night, and she was walking a rather long distance. and she started noticing sticks and pebbles being thrown at her from the wood line in the dark, and she was a little bit terrified by that. And then the activity picked up and picked up and picked up. And what she ended up doing was taking shelter in like a little railway, like switching little shack.
Yeah.
And that was unlocked. And she went in there and she actually fell asleep until daylight. And when she woke up, there was a dead cougar on the step of the switching shack with its neck broken. So her interpretation of that was that a Sasquatch was trying to warn her about this cougar that was stalking her, and then as his way of demonstrating what he or she had done for her, she left it there.
Like the cat does with the mice.
Yeah, actually, and that was one thing that does go back to that private property that we went to back in January too. Was the owner was also convinced that one day when a dead mouse was left for him, so after he'd started gifting apples and things like that, a little mouse was left there on the porch too, not like
that happens all the time.
And not like devoured or anything like that, or torn up or anything like that, just intact and placed right by his front door.
I like the cougar one better.
Yeah,
It's like I get up the odd morning you get out, there'll be 3 mice on the mat. If 2 of the cats are out all night, yeah,
They leave you those gifts.
oh yeah, they think they're just
Yeah.
sometimes
Did
they're
you
still
guys
like
hear-
half alive.
Sorry,
So did you guys
hear
get
about that,
Jason's report? That was a fantastic story.
Jason?
Friend of the show, Jason.
I don't know. Has he sent us a report?
I don't know. I'll encourage him to.
Yeah.
You're going to see him this weekend.
You know, that's actually another thing that happens though too. Is I've talked to. I should speak to my experience. I've talked to quite a few people who have given me a report verbally or over the phone, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't want to write this down, or I don't want to talk about this anymore. I just needed to tell someone once to get it off my chest." And
Well, Jason talked about it on the podcast, so
okay,
he should be down to do a report.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll
It was a
give him
great
text.
encounter too. It was beating on the trees with a stick at one point, and yeah, good one.
Was that an Alberta encounter as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
yeah.
gonna take me out to that place.
Okay, we would love to hear.
Without a gun, please. Because the other chance is like if you have a gun, you're probably not going to see him.
Yeah.
That's
I
the other
disagree
thing.
with that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, if you just think like there's a huge number of encounters that have happened with people with guns.
Okay.
hunters.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Right.
true. Yeah.
I mean, if they're gonna show themselves, they're gonna. I have this suspicion that they can kind of almost sense your intentions, right?
Right.
Despite having a gun or not. I mean, like there's so many hunter encounters and stories of people who have shot at them. So I don't think the gun thing is relevant. To say that if they see you have a weapon, they're not going to show themselves.
Okay, that's cool to know.
It's more of like what your intentions are going into.
And you've talked about people.
I'm not
shooting
gonna have a
it,
gun
right?
anyway. Jason's not gonna take me out there with a gun, and I'm not gonna put Jason in that position where he's got Darren running around with a gun in the dark.
I'm starting to think that you being around guns is not a good thing for anybody.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't know about that.
Did you get your license recently?
Yes. Yep.
Why? Because you're going to try hunting?
Yep.
Yeah.
I got my status card good to go again. I got my PAL card good to go. I'm ready to go hunting. So, I mean, maybe I won't be able to shoot it. I mean, but I'm not looking to shoot a Bigfoot, to be perfectly honest. It's just that
If it came down to it.
if I'm out hunting deer and you turn around, it's like, boom, there's a Sasquatch. What do you do? What do you do? Maybe I can't do it either. I mean, I haven't even shot a deer yet. I might not even be able to shoot a deer. I might break down like a bitch. But,
As he points to me.
I was pointing at me breaking down to the ground. But it's probably harder to shoot a Sasquatch that's just looking at you all like.
I was gonna ask if you guys heard of that recent story of that missing kid. I think it was in the States. Who went missing for however many days, and then she was eventually found. But she said while she was gone, she was taken care of by like a bear or bull bears or something.
Yeah,
Did
I
you hear
heard
about
that.
Keenan?
Yeah, I did
Yeah, I
hear
remember
about that.
Yeah, was that a little boy or a little girl? That was a little boy.
Something like that. I
Yeah.
can't remember the details of it.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like people kind of jumped on that as like, oh, that sounds like something from our phenomenon. But like that's what people I think read into a lot of these like news headlines and stuff now too, as like a Rorschach test for the thing that they believe in. So that's one of the things that happen with like the whole missing 411, for example, is whenever a new headline of like a missing person pops up, everyone fills in that gap with like if they're the Sasquatch person, then it was like the Sasquatch, or if you're the UFO person, it's like, oh, it's an abduction, or if you're like the fairy fae people or whatever, everyone fills that gap in with like the thing that they believe is responsible.
How'd you like the documentary?
Which one?
Missing 411.
Well, I like this one better than the last one. This one wasn't as concentrated on like an individual case and like the human cost for that family.
Is there a new one?
Yeah, the
Oh,
Hunted.
That's the one I watched, and I was like, "This is bullshit."
Yeah, it was very
What?
difficult.
What?
The one with Les Stroud, right?
Is Les Stroud in that one? I think it is. It's all about that little girl that went missing, or the little boy
Little
or
boy
whatever
in
by the
Idaho.
creek, and it's like the whole thing is about that.
The creek. What's it? The creek?
Yeah, it's like not quite a creek, it's a crick. It's good to go.
Yeah.
I'm using proper vernacular.
Yeah.
So I was super disappointed because you hear the interviews with Pallades and it's like these crazy, creepy stories, and I was just waiting for this. I mean, I put off watching the documentary a couple times because it was late, and I was just like, actually, the one day we were going to visit a national park the next day, and we're like, let's not watch, Missing 411. So I had it all hyped up that it was going to be this super spooky fucking thing, and then it was just like, But I'll have to watch the Hunted one and see if that's better, because the first one was fairly
A
disappointing.
couple guys watched that before our last CE5. Like, what are you doing watching that? That's going to change your whole like state of mind. You want to be all like love and light and positive to make contact, not be like unconsciously scared that you're going to be,
Yeah, that last Missing 411 documentary, I was telling Justin this too, is like the most expensive documentary that I've ever watched. I watched it with my girlfriend, and then after that, she made me go out and buy one of those $500 Garmin InReach, like two-way communicators for the backwoods. Like, you're not going out there looking for the Sasquatch without one of these. And I'm like, oh. So so now I'm at probably $600-700 on that thing, just so I can text her from the woods, let her know I haven't been missing 411.
yeah.
Yeah.
I hope not. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm hoping not to.
Do you think that Sasquatch is part of that mystery?
It could be, but like still, I mean, it would actually blow your mind how easy it is for someone to get lost. I mean, back, I don't know, probably, I want to say maybe 10 years ago, maybe not even that long ago, there was a person, there were two younger girls who were hiking around Horse Thief Canyon in Drumheller. And they ended up getting lost in that little canyon and had to get rescued. So it's like,
What?
that area is not that big, and it's right off the highway. I mean, people can get lost in areas that you wouldn't even believe they would get
Just
lost.
climb up the hill and you could see for miles.
I know.
I like
That's
how
the crazy thing.
you're creeping up on Drum Hill and you don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, yeah. And then you drive down to the ditch and there you are. Like an oasis.
I mean, you have those old cases like the Albert Ostman story where he was hauled off one night in his sleeping bag. You know, whatever the creature was slung him over his shoulder and hauled him off for 6 days. You know, there's lots of old stories like that of Bigfoot actually taking people. And then you have all the old First Nations tales of kids getting snatched and women getting snatched from their teepees. So I don't know. I mean, it could definitely be something like that, and of course, maybe it could be UFO related. But you know, it's most likely people just genuinely getting lost, because that happens very easily.
And what about the people that try to shoot it? Have you had? Did you talk about in your show? Or was that another one I was watching where the people you were talking about knowing people that have shot it or shot at it?
I mean, I don't personally really know anyone who has actually shot at it. I mean, I have on Facebook, I'm friends with that Justin Smea guy who claims to have actually shot and killed a baby one.
Oh wow.
You know, where he actually had it in his hands and he was looking at it.
Really? Holy.
Yeah, but I mean, apparently they ran DNA tests on some blood that was on his boots, and it came back to be that of a black bear. So, I
At
mean,
least it wasn't human.
yeah. I mean, that's the big fear, right? People are always scared that if they do shoot it, you know, it's either going to end up being a person in a suit
Some
or,
feral missing kid from the 70s.
yeah, and now you're a murderer. So I don't
Dang.
know.
So, what are some of your theories about what? I mean, what do you guys think that this is? It still surprises me that thousands and thousands of reports. I mean, I know we don't have really good video, but video and just like it back in the mid '90s, I always remember hearing when I was interested in UFOs that you can only tell a photo is fake. You can't tell it's real. You can't prove it's real. You can only prove it's fake. So, video is only going to get us that far. Video or photos, but
The video days are almost gone.
the thousands of witnesses and the people and the hunters that have been hunting for decades and that now will not go back into the woods because they've had an encounter. I mean, it's hard to believe people still just poo-poo this whole mystery, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you have lots of hunters who have seen it and won't go back into the woods. You also have a lot of hunters who will say they've been hunting their whole lives,
And yeah,
never
yeah,
seen anything. I mean, but how long is hunting season? I can't tell you what it is.
no, but
You know,
what are some of your thoughts? Yeah,
It's an interdimensional time traveler.
yeah.
No, I don't know.
I'll go with the interdimensional thing. I mean, but I do like how one of your guests, I think, or one of the guys you're talking to, had some theories that made it just seem like it's really advanced. Really advanced. What was the words he was using? So it's not like it's interdimensional, but it's just super advanced.
He was basically
nature,
saying that
like nature-wise, you know.
it's so highly adapted to where it lives.
Yeah.
And its capabilities of, I guess, existing the way it exists. Like, it's so highly advanced and evolved in that sense that it would appear to a human to almost have supernatural ability.
Right. Yeah.
Which I agree with that. But at the same time, like, the more I look into this and the more cases that come out, especially of people talking about the interdimensional theories and the mind speak stuff, which is really weird. There's more and more of that coming out, which is crazy. And it's kind of, like the encounter on that guy's property where he actually seen it and we got called out to that. Like that, I can't explain that. And it almost made me feel like it had this weird supernatural element to it. So I don't know. I can't tell you if it's like a flesh and blood thing or if it's something.
Or both.
It's weird, whatever
Yeah.
it is. Or both, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and all the cultures, all the ancient cultures that have had myths about this thing, and all around the world. I mean, you've got the Yowie and the Yeti and all these things. Like every culture almost has it. Not everyone, but most cultures seem to have this wild man.
Maybe they're like the Nephilim.
Aspect. Well, that's what I wonder. Is maybe it's like an old Neanderthal hybrid or something like that. I don't know if it was you. See, I'm getting all the stuff I've been watching lately mixed up, but some really interesting theories about how we are there's six lineages or something, and we're a hybrid from what is it, Neanderthal?
Well, I'm thinking more like the sons of the
Neanderthalians.
gods. Maybe that's what the Bigfoots are. There's still a couple of them kicking around, just keeping an eye on us.
the
killing
giants that
food.
didn't get killed off went to the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've just been adapting there because weren't they immortal too?
I don't know.
Actually, well, that's what I like about what we do too. Is like we're not out there peddling certainty. I think those are the people that you need to be the most afraid of, are the people that speak in uncertainties and like this is the way it is, and this is how it's going down, and this is like the Gigantopithecus and came over on the land bridge, and the people that speak like that are the people that scare me, because personally too, just as Justin mentioned, is I've actually talked to multiple people, Canadians, Albertans, British Columbians specifically, who've all experienced mind speak as well. And this isn't, these aren't people that, I experienced this back in the 90s, the 2000s. These are people that I know and talk to right now and who, are probably out there in a lounge chair with their eyes rolled into the back of their head, talking to them right now. So it's something that happens, and it's not that it's. I would challenge the idea that the people that are speaking about this, that it's happening more than it has in the past. I think that the people that it's experiencing who are the experiencers for this part of the phenomena, they are just more willing to speak about it as it becomes a bigger chunk of the phenomena. And I think and the longer this mystery drags on, the more people you see go towards that camp, because again, it's another side that offers answers instead of more questions.
Maybe. I mean, but if it's anything like our CE5 things, like it's been ramping up in the last couple of years. Like, and I don't know if that's because we're more cohesive as a group or something. But I mean, I've had that CSETI card since the mid '90s, and I mean, I went a lot of years without even looking into the stuff. But back in the day, like we never used to see anything, and now we're seeing all kinds of shit. And so I mean, you know, what's the difference between the mind speaking, like channeling, or like how would you describe it to somebody that's not familiar with it?
Oh, I've never experienced that myself, but you know, all I could say is that the people that seem to be experiencing this talk about it with the same credibility and sincerity as a person that will just describe to you their roadside crossing. Yeah. And so I don't know if that's just the same thing as a person hearing a voice in their head, but even people like Les Stroud have come forward about that in the last couple of years and talked about experiencing that on multiple occasions. I think the last time he did a public podcast and he discussed that openly, I think he discussed that he'd experienced it 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, it seems to be pretty selective about the phenomena there, the mind speak part of it. It seems to be very selective about who they pick and what they say. And it's usually what people report is very succinct messages, very straightforward, very blunt talk. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about, Keenan was mentioning you had a couple of UFO sightings as well. I don't want to miss out a chance to hear about those.
Yeah, the most recent one was actually before, it was not too long before we got the call where these things were on this guy's property just west of Edmonton. It was actually along the same stretch of highway. This guy kind of lived right off the highway. And I was actually driving back from Nordic. I was out there filming some stuff. And so I had my camcorder even on my passenger seat just because I was out filming. And I'm driving down this road, this highway. It was getting pretty late. Like, it was dark out. It was in the winter. And it was actually kind of busy, too. There were cars behind me. And I'm driving towards the city. And to my left, which would be to the north, there was this set of weird lights, almost in like a diamond or a triangle shape or something like that. So like, oh, those look kind of weird, like just the way they're moving and the way they look and how bright they are. They just looked strange. And I also knew that in the general area, there's the Edmonton International Airport. So I'm always kind of suspicious of things in the sky that I see in that area, like west of Edmonton and southwest of Edmonton. Yeah. But I was kind of keeping an eye on it, and it was getting closer and closer to me as I was driving. And I'm like, okay, it's really starting to look kind of weird. So I actually pulled over, and the thing's heading straight for me. And as it was like about to pass over me, I could actually see the shape of it, not just the lights, but the shape of whatever it was. And it was very weird, kind of like a layered structure to it on the bottom. It was very strange, like you could actually see that. So that kind of freaked me out. I ended up getting my camera, running outside to get a shot of it, but it was so dark. It was just a really grainy image because I had the gain set all the way up, and also there was cars ripping by me. I think they thought that something was wrong with my vehicle and that I'd broke down, so people were kind of slowing down. And I didn't want to get hit, so I just went back in my car and continued on. But as I was driving, I could see it just continue on. And it was really slow. As far as I could tell, I mean, there was some noise on the highway from traffic, but as far as I can tell, there wasn't any noise. But just the fact that you could kind of see the shape of it and tell that it wasn't an airplane was enough for me.
Yeah.
Maybe it dropped off those Bigfoot creatures on that guy's
That's what
property.
I was thinking. That's funny. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, isn't that interesting? I wonder if they're involved somehow.
He was dropping off the Bigfoot repellers, getting ready to catch you.
Maybe.
That was a synchronicity. You seen the mothership.
Well, well, the Nordig area is like the Bigfoot hotspot in Alberta, but they also say that it's one of the UFO hotspots in Alberta, which is kind of interesting.
You
Yeah,
haven't
it
been
is
there yet?
interesting. Yeah. No.
Sounds like prime C5 ground.
Yeah. I love that meme about the little alien inside the Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot's like his 4x4 vehicle kind of thing.
That's what the saucer turns into. Like a transformer.
So what are you guys doing in the future? What's up next for you guys?
So
We got the Grand Prairie thing.
yeah, okay. So the last weekend of September, actually, I was trying to pull up what weekend that was on.
Because what I like about this is you guys are both kind of new in the whole thing. You know, you've only been like 2017 was your experience, so it's only been a couple of years, right?
Yeah, and we've already experienced quite a bit. I mean, we haven't had that, that holy grail moment of a visual sighting, either me or him, but
Yeah.
I feel like we've been really successful with like how we've reached out to
Yeah.
people and who we've been in contact with and the quality of reports that we've taken in.
Yeah.
But the next big thing coming up here is, and this is, I believe this is announced now. So on September 27th, 28th, and 29th, this year, we are giving a public speaking engagement at the Grand Prairie Museum. The venue itself is not the museum. It's just, I believe it's a public facility just adjacent to the museum itself. And there'll be some other speakers there. We believe Thomas Steenberg's going to be there. I don't think he's confirmed, but Dr. Jeff Meldrum is confirmed as a speaker there. And Justin is going to be putting on a feature-length documentary during one of the afternoons, and we're also going to be doing a 60 to 90-minute lecture on the history of sightings in Alberta.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
We'll send Graham up. Hey, I bet you we get Justin come to town for that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we got a couple of friends in the community.
Down in Washington.
Oh yeah.
That's prime grounds down there
Wenatchee.
too. Yeah, Wenatchee.
So what about your channel, and what do you want to talk a little bit about that and what you're doing in the future?
Yeah. Well, lately, what I've been trying to do is get to this certain location, and I want to spend a prolonged period of time.
Ah, okay.
It's a really hard area to get to, and Keenan knows that. We made an attempt to hike out there recently, and we only made it in something like 15 kilometers or so.
Yeah, we made it a little over 15 kilometers, and you said it was, what, closer to 19? To get
No,
into
at the
full?
end, it's 22 kilometers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hiking it's really rough, but after we tried it, I actually ended up going in there on a quad, and it was still almost like a full day of riding. But the area is insane. So right now I'm just trying to find the time where I can get out there and spend maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks and see if anything happens, because I've been told by Ken Walker, the taxidermist, that is the spot to be, and there's been rumors that a hunter had actually found a cave in that area where they believe that these creatures go in the winter and hide out, and the cave is full of bones, and it just sounds like a really mysterious kind of, I don't know, story that you'd find in a novel or something.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, if you find those clues and those hints, go for it. You might, you never know.
And if I find nothing, it's a really good camping trip. So.
Yeah, exactly. Just out in the wilderness. It's great to be in nature anyways, and as long as you don't scare the shit out of yourself out there. So would you go with somebody then, or?
I'm fine either way, honestly. But I don't want to become another missing 411 case.
Well, that's the thing, right? Yeah. So you go out on your own quite a bit then, or?
Yeah.
Like overnight?
It's mostly a case of people in my area not wanting to go camping, and there's not a lot of people who are into going to these Bigfoot areas and actually spending the night.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's good to have an organization now, like with the website and people like Keenan and Rob and other people in the organization, like-minded people who are actually willing to get out and do these things. It's just an issue of coordinating it, people getting time off together.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
if we can't do that, I'm totally fine going.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hard pitch for some people. It's a hard sell too, right? It's the idea where, all right, we're going to go out to the woods. We're going to stay sober. We're going to stay up late. We're going to try to attract in this apex predator, and we don't have a plan on what we're going to do if it shows up. Would be like a like a dog chasing a car, we wouldn't know what to do with one if we caught one.
Yeah.
It's a hard sell.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Bring it again.
I don't think we've ever actually talked about what we would do yet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay.
Well, 'cause
it's
you're not
just,
gonna
it's
catch
just
it.
like I
it's
said,
all going to
you're-
change as soon as that infer sound hits you. You're all, you're going to start puking anyways or something, or
That's
Yeah.
why I need Graham. He'll be okay.
you get knocked over the head. Well, it does sound. I mean, it sounds. It's similar to the
fucking hot,
CE5 stuff we do. I mean, we go out there, we're looking for some contact, and we stay sober and we try it. And
Yeah.
I mean, our plan is, you with love and light and some good intentions, and you're gonna ask for, whatever. I mean, ultimately, you get a ride in the ship. You ask for a ride in the ship. You make some contact. You communicate. You try and be a representative of Earth.
Hopefully the aliens don't want to smoke a joint because you don't have one.
I know this is probably a bunch of BS, but are you familiar with the Billy Meyer case?
Yeah.
The UFO case.
Yeah.
In the contact notes that he came up with, he tries to explain the origins of Bigfoot,
Oh, I forgot about that.
and it essentially comes down to a set of experiments, between breeding humans and different creatures of the earth, and it was kind of the result of that.
From ET.
No,
Yeah.
it's like a
by
proto-human.
by ET, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's interesting. What else was I going to ask about your trip? So you go out there. So would you what are some of the techniques you would do? Because I mean, you showed in your movie your tree knocking, and you do that really. Well, I tried doing that whoop. Sometimes we do that whoop, but it's really hard to do that little whoop. But is there other things you would do, like gifting? Would you put out some things like that, or is there other techniques?
I don't know. I've tried all those things.
Yeah.
And the more I look into it, I just think nowadays it's not even worth doing, almost. A lot of people do it and swear by it, but I think if you're out in these areas, first of all, they're going to know you're there pretty much immediately. So I don't think you really have to be banging on trees and doing that sort of thing, because then they kind of figure oh, maybe they're after me.
Or maybe that you're trying to communicate with them too.
Maybe, but
Yeah.
again, we don't know. I mean,
yeah.
it seems like most encounters happen when people are just minding their own business
Yeah.
and doing the things they want to do. They're just camping with their family, or they're doing this and that. I mean, that's when most of these encounters happen. It's not when people are going out trying to look for it, usually. And the people who say they have encounters all the time when they're out looking for it are the people you got to watch out for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at least we've been in partial agreement, me and Justin, in the past about the idea that you can go out to these areas where the experiences tend to cluster and they tend to happen quite a bit. You can be out there in a remote area in a small group. You try to have that intention of not even necessarily peaceful contact, but just being out there and being in nature and enjoying yourself. And I think there's a few things you can do to maybe to differentiate yourself or be a little bit different, but not necessarily trying to go out and attract something like this. But I think one of the reasons we've tried some of the wood knocking and tried some of the calling is because after you're out there for a while and nothing happens, something kind of inside you pushes you forward to want to do something a bit more active and a little less passive, to feel like you're trying to engage them in some way. At some point, that passive approach to just minding your own business, when your intention out there is to see one, experience one, film one, it eventually it drives you to want to do something a little bit more proactive.
Yeah.
So,
I totally get that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the other okay.
Sorry, I was just going to say the issue is that with everything we've tried, we've never had a response, really, to trying any of those things. Anything that's ever happened to me in my personal experience has been just by chance or by me just being in an area. So that's what I'm going off of. I'm not saying it wouldn't work if we tried those things.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying up until now it hasn't really done anything.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
We should go local. Isn't there a place down like that spot where we did the last C5? I took a picture there. It was just.
The foggy
I don't want to
place.
say that. Yeah, the foggy place. I don't want to say where it is, just because I don't want to talk about the exact location on the
He
show.
doesn't want to get stalked out down there.
I don't want any
by his
hoaxing.
groupies.
I don't want any hoaxing going on.
Doesn't want
by
to get
Darren.
droned.
Darren's gonna go out there and.
I'm gonna put a Roman candle on a drone.
We should go out one night locally. We'll get Jason, our Sasquatch buddy, and we'll go out, like to that, like just an hour or two away from Calgary, and
I can
check out a couple
I
of
can
hot
show you.
spots.
I can show you a multiple eyewitness sighting location, 25 minutes from the southeast.
yeah, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just 5 minutes beyond Bragg Creek.
yeah, that's kind of where we went.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should do that. Just go out and knock some wood. And,
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is I mean, we've invested a lot of our time and our energy into going into some of these places that are 4, 5, 6 hours away, just because we thought maybe we would give these places a shot, and because they were remote, we thought we'd have some like privacy to go out and try to experience these things without mistakenly running into and bumping into other people. But the reality of it is that the majority of these encounters happen on like the fringes of just our civilization, and a lot of like the clusters for these sightings where we can identify clusters are just outside of town.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit scary sometimes, thinking that I can hop in my car from your studio right here, and in 40 minutes I could be rapping on a piece of wood on wood and out in the woods, in the last place that a person described to me in an encounter.
Yeah, that's crazy. Are you going to be doing any more of like TV shows? Are you guys connecting with the greater community in North America at all, or because you put some pretty good documentaries together there? Like,
yeah, I've been in communication with like multiple production companies to try and get a show going, but it's always been a really long, drawn out process that never really to anything. But at this moment, I'm talking to a company actually in Edmonton, a local production company, that are interested in doing something. So I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be like a local Canadian production.
yeah, like I'm always skeptical of the networks and the TV stuff. Like I'm from doing this over the years. I mean, most of the people we know of, they haven't had the best experience when they try and do something authentic, in the mainstream sort of TV world. But there's guys like we talked about before we started this, the Small Town Monsters guys. We had Seth on a couple times, and they seem to just be able to. They seem to have created their own pretty cool company doing these types of things. Maybe you could connect with somebody like that too and do a Canadian version or something like that.
Yeah, I've been talking to Seth for a while. He actually played my first film at the Minerva Monster
Awesome.
days back in 2016, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been going hard with those films. It feels like every few months he's working on something new, which is pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see him looking into the Bigfoot topic nowadays.
So what would you do? Would you stick with if you hooked up with this company in Edmonton? Would you stick with Sasquatch or?
Hard to say.
Really?
I'm open to looking into other mysteries, but like Bigfoot's number one, of course. But I'm always down to look into other things. I mean, I'm still pushing hard on the YouTube thing. I'm working on some stuff right now just for YouTube.
Yeah.
Documentary style films. So I'm going to keep going forward with that and kind of sharing my explorations with everyone still, because that's what everyone wants to see. So
Yeah. Right on. Do you guys have Darren? Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I can't. Well, I want to go Bigfoot hunting. We'll have to all get together and go Bigfoot hunting.
Yeah.
Do you guys have social media accounts?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to take you out.
Do you guys have social media where listeners can track you down, follow you around?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you can find us on Facebook by just searching Alberta Sasquatch Organization, or you can find us at sasquatchalberta.com or albertasasquatch.com in both domains.
Okay.
Or
Oh.
Beast Mysteries on YouTube.
Yeah, there's that guy
So
too.
subscribe to that.
Yeah, and I'll get links to that in the show notes for sure. And is there anything else you guys want to mention before we kind of wrap it up? Or?
No, that'd be good. But you know what? Maybe we come back in a year and follow up with you too, because every year seems to bring a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
It's almost hard to summarize all of the cool stuff that's happened to us in just the last couple of years in just like an hour. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean that'd be great. Yeah, we'd love to have you guys back. And if you're in Calgary at all, Justin,
Well,
you
by
know,
next time we'll have we'll make sure we have air conditioning.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it would definitely actually be worth all getting together and going out on a
oh, for sure.
little adventure and maybe documenting it.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do a show on it. Yeah, we'll do a show on it too. A little, yeah, that'd be great. And if you're ever in Calgary, come by and visit and
Yeah.
come on the show. And yeah, we should keep in touch for sure. And let us know how things are going, both you guys, and we can talk about it on the show. We do like an intro where we kind of talk about whatever we want before each episode. So
Yeah.
I'll go.
that's great.
As long as I can bring my one hitter, we're down. I'm in.
Yeah, you'll fit in good with some of the people we know.
Perfect. Graham doesn't let me fit in with his crowd because of it. Persona non grata. That's okay. Start my own CE5 group. It'll be better.
You'll probably have a better chance of seeing something.
That's right.
I
I've
don't know.
thinned the veil,
I don't know.
sand it down.
It's all your imagination, Darren.
I think it's your imagination sometimes. But that's okay. Everything starts as an imagination.
Yeah.
Everything starts in the imagination, even Bigfoot.
All right. I guess that's about it, eh?
Yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
Come
right
back
on.
anytime, and yeah, let's keep in touch on that. Maybe we could go someplace like halfway between here and Edmonton. We'll just head straight into the mountains.
Definitely.
We'll drive
Well,
to the.
Nordeg's pretty much in the center, isn't it? Or is it too north?
That's kind of in the center, I guess.
Yeah, it's like center west. We'll go there. We'll meet there in the hot spot.
Yeah, Red
Yeah.
Deer. Well, Red Deer's like the midway point, and then you just head west from
Yeah.
Red Deer, and
Yeah,
that's
perfect.
That's Nordic right
There you
there.
go.
Let's do a night. Saturday
Awesome.
night.
All right.
All right. All right, guys.
Okay.
Come back anytime.
All right, no problem.
Okay. See you,
Okay,
Justin.
take care.
Okay.
And that was our chat with Alberta Sasquatch and Mountain Beast Mysteries. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, it was great.
Always
Yeah.
good to get extra people in the studio.
Yeah,
It's
we still
extra
got
hot.
Keenan here. What'd you think, Keenan? It was fun. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, no, it was great. I was glad to come in too. This is, I think this is the first podcast I've done. So
Oh, right on. Good. Yeah. Hopefully, you're great. Great speaker. Great at spreading the message and all that. It was awesome. It was really good.
We're glad to pop your podcast cherry.
thanks.
And it totally it does excite me about the phenomenon to get out and do that and just spend some time in the.
And you know what?
Woods.
The sweltering heat has brought back some memories of when we were in the
Doing
walk-in freezer in the garage.
Yeah.
We used to get hot in there with two people.
Yeah.
That's good. No, we'll get air conditioned eventually. GoAmerica.ca/support. Big thanks to you guys for listening, for supporting. GoAmerica.ca/support. Check out all the links, guys, there. We got Patreon, we got Stripe, we got PayPal. Or you can just leave us a review. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. Spam Graham@GoAmerica.com. Sign people up for the newsletter. Get some swag. GoAmerica.ca/swag. Get a shirt. Get
The
some
chats.
sweaters.
Join the chats.
Join the chats. GoAmerica.ca/chats. Pop in there. Say hi. I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning into the live show. We'll see you next time.